These goddamn phone calls, yo. All right. I'm going to make sure that I put my phone on airplane mode from now on. Part 2, episode 27. Let's get to the end of this. That was an accidental cliffhanger. Anyway, where we just left off is, I was just talking about how we get to the front of her house. We're in the front of her house. We're sitting there. We're chilling. It's like 7:45. It gets to 7:50. And she's like, all right, I got to go inside. I'm like, all right, not a problem. I was telling her that I appreciated everything. I haven't had anything like this in a very long time. Like, I really needed it. It was like it was like light. It was just like light at the edge of my darkness, yo. It really was. It was like light. And I was just kind of reaching for it. And, you know, I kind of felt like for the first time in months, I actually feel like I'm worth something, you know? It was nice. Because remember, I've been kicking my ass about this whole situation, about what I did. It's the way I teach myself. It's like self-discipline. I am extremely difficult on myself with things, and when I make the mistakes, like you know, cheating on somebody or doing something I'm not supposed to do, I make it really hard on myself so I don't ever forget the lesson. So that way, I know the lesson for the future. That's what I do. I do it hard too. You guys will know because we're not done with this story about a long shot. Anyway. I'm like, yo, let me go help you out because, you know, she's freaking sitting in a door where she can't, you know, she has to climb out. So I run over to her on the other side of the door. I run out the car, run around, boom, 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 boom. And she's looking up at me. Now, if there's any event in this planet that I know the crazy amount of details to, this is one of them. Now, you guys have already told me, you know mad details, you make it easy to see this picture. Let me paint this clearly for you, because this is an important scene. It's completely dark. There's trees like this around everywhere, and it's mad dark, and we're outside of a house. And we're the only car parked in front of the house. There's no other cars on the street, just us. All right? I get out the car. The car has a little bit of neon glow in it. It's green. It's really low. And all I can see is like shadow, like the silhouette of her face from the side because of light. It's like, you know, I walk over to the window and I'm looking down in the window, and she reaches her arms up. But when she does that, I look at her eyes, and her eyes are telling me, I'm really good at reading eyes. Her eyes are saying something along the lines of, it had like a lust look in them, but at the same time, it had like this admiration look. Like she was really admiring what I do. And, you know, I've always said that the most important thing in a relationship, for me personally, what I say, the most important thing in a relationship is simply, does the woman you're with have eyes to see you? What I always mean by that is, if you're with somebody, they should be able to see who you are without you having to be fake, without you having to be somebody you're not. None of that nonsense. You should be able to be with somebody that you can just be yourself, and that's all you need. And they see that. And it ain't even like you gotta try. If they just see that. Some girls will know that you're good to talk to. Some girls will know that you're good to do something else. You know, it just depends on the female. She was very good. She had those eyes. She could see who I was because she always has, even since the first time I met her. So what ended up happening was I look in her eyes and I see that look. Can't explain that look. It was just that look. And I'm like, And I go to reach to pick her up, and I go to pick her up, kind of, because she stands in the seat to get out the car. And as she steps out, she kind of steps out. She kind of slips a little bit. Now, when she slips, she falls into my arms. So now I'm holding her. I was holding her kind of like under her arms. And then when I lifted her up, she kind of plopped into me. So, you know, now we're chest to chest. And her top of her head is kind of like here to my face. So she flops on me. I'm still holding her. And, you know, her arms curl around me. And now we're just kind of sitting there for like, this is all happening. This whole process probably happened within, maybe within 3 seconds. But it was extremely long period of time for me because of the way the situation worked. She falls down to my arms. I'm looking at like her shoulders, and I see her hair land on her shoulders because she just fell. Now to me, this is kind of moving kind of slow. When I start looking over at her face, and you know, I see her mouth. Her mouth is kind of just looking like, it just has like this stare. Like, you know how people's faces kind of match their look on their face. So if you're scared, you're like, you know, the mouth looks like the eyes should look, you know, it's all unison. That's kind of how it looks. So I was kind of curious to see what her eyes look like, and I looked at her eyes. I looked down at her eyes, and when I did that, everything kind of fucking stopped. Now, when I said everything stopped, I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. Everything stopped. I didn't hear anything. Everything was just silent, yo. And I remember looking at her, but it wasn't for that long, but I remember looking at her, and it was like a language was being spoke, but we wasn't saying any words. And as we're looking at each other, she starts moving in. I'm like, is she seriously moving in? This is what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, is she really moving in, or am I seeing things? Because it's hard to see. If she moves in, she moves, I move in, we end up kissing. And it wasn't one of those crazy, like, you know, movie crazy kisses. It was just like, I don't even really remember what kind of kiss that was. It was definitely a tongue kiss, but it just wasn't like, it wasn't extra. It was light. It was light work. But we kissed each other. And then during mid-kiss, I would say maybe like 3 seconds in, which is a pretty decent amount of time, she snapped out of it. Like, it's just like she woke up and she was like, oh, did I just do that? Oh, she's like, oh my God. She's like, she started spazzing. I'm like, I'm just sitting there mad cool, like, huh? Like, I was thinking about going, like, did I do something wrong, or what's the matter? I was like, hell no, I ain't fucking doing that. I sat there, leaning against my car, my arms crossed, looking at her like, are you serious right now? And she's just sitting there, like, spazzing. I'm like, yo, relax, it's all good. She's like, oh my God. And she's like, she runs off. Like, she runs halfway to the up the steps, stops, turns back around, runs over, gives me a hug. She's like, I'll talk to you soon. I gotta go inside. Bye. She runs inside and leaves. Now, I'm sitting outside the car like, I'm still got my arms crossed. I'm sitting against the car like, Look at my phone. I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is good. I walk over, get in the car. I get this big ass grin on my face. I'm like, turn the car on. I'm like, all right, well, this is good. Drive off mad slow. I get halfway around the block, and I'm like, bang, bang. I already know what it is. I'm out. I'm gone, Nick. I drove so fast home. I couldn't even, I was driving so damn fast and so happy. I was like, yeah, motherfucker. Wee. I was out, yo. Just enjoy. It was just such a good release of positive energy for me at that particular point. I was so happy. I was like, oh, this is so good. I fly all the way home. I get home. I get in the house. She sends me a text message of a little smiley face. She's like, I had a great night. Thank you for everything. Sorry that happened. I didn't really mean for that to happen. I couldn't help myself. I'm like, yo. Sometimes the best things in life happen innately. I'm like, sometimes you're just going to do things because you feel them, and that is the best way to live. And that's what I told her, and I left it at that, and I didn't even, that was the end of that conversation. And I really meant that, because I realized, with me personally, most of the times up and before that point, impulse was really leading me a long way, especially with Mia and everything else. So I get home, and I'm chilling, and I'm sitting in my empty-ass room, and I'm mad happy. I'm just like, I'm finally happy. But, you know, as always with my life, things got to be balanced. As soon as I get home, I'm chilling, I'm laying down. It's like 10 o'clock, and my phone rings. And I'm like, no way Lexi has too much class to be calling me no damn 10 o'clock right now, when she got shit to do the next day. I look at the phone, and my whole face goes from like, it's Mia's number. And I'm like, the fuck, nigga? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I look at that phone and got angry. I got mad. Like, I got fucking mad, yo. Like, I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna not answer it. I'm gonna answer it, but I got so mad, right? I pick up the phone, and I'm like, yo. She's like, hey. I'm like, yo. I'm like, you sure you should be calling me right now? She's like, yeah. I want to call you. I'm like, what do you want? She's like, I just wanted to talk to you. I'm like, yo, last time I talked to you, you didn't want to talk. And I'm like, furthermore, like, aren't you dating somebody? Like, what are you calling me at 10 o'clock at night for? Like, I'm doing everything. I'm just being a straight dick, because I'm so pissed off at this point. I'm like, the nerve of this bitch calling me. Like, I was mad as fuck. I was just like, yo, like, what the fuck do you want? It's almost like I was mad at her calling me. Not because she called me, but because, like, why would you call this night? Like, out of all nights, you have to ruin my shit. I couldn't even hit 12 a.m. And she calls me. Let me tell you guys why she called me. She calls me and she goes, oh, I just wanted to talk. I'm like, all right, so what do you want to talk about? She's like, I just want to know how things are going for you. I'm like, things are going really good for me right now. I'm happy. Right now, I am happy. I'm good right now. I'm like, I'm fucking ecstatic, actually. I'm like, this phone call is pissing me off. She's like, why are you getting mad at the phone call? I'm like, because I don't what can you say to me right now? I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, yes, I did. And I told her, I was like, yo, I did my wrong. I'm suffering my consequences. But at the same time, I don't want to be lied to by you. I don't want to hear about your relationship. I don't want to talk about none of that bullshit. I'm like, yo, that shit is just a hindrance to me. I'm like, I'm trying to get over this. It's fucking killing me. She's like, what do you mean it's killing you? I'm like, this shit hurts like fuck. I'm like, I don't want to talk to this. Why does it hurt? I'm like, what do you think? I'm getting tired of these one-word questions. Like, these questions like, why? Huh? What? I'm like, yo, what do you think? Why wouldn't it? I'm like, yo, I was with you for mad long. I didn't want this shit to end. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. She, for some reason, when she heard that, got mad happy because I guess that's the remorse or the, what she wanted from me, I guess, that pain. And she goes, well, because you said that, I want to tell you something. I'm like, because I said what? She's like, because of what you said, I want to tell you something. I'm like, all right, what? Now, normally I'd cliffhang y'all, but I'm not going to cliffhang you. Not right now. She goes and says, I got to tell you what my boyfriend said to me. I'm like, okay, what's that? She's like, well, he told me that he loves me. He's in love with me. I'm like, haven't you only been dating him for like a month? She's like, yes. I'm like, what does that have to do with me? She's like, I can't. She said, and I'm gonna say it just like she said it. She said, I can't. She stopped. There was a silence on the phone for about 10 seconds. I'm not saying a fucking word. I want to know what the hell she's gonna say without me interrupting. She said, I can't. She kept saying, I can't. She kept saying, I can't. I'm like, all right, what is it? She's like, I can't love him because I still am in love with you. It was silent. And I'm like, all right. And I repeated it to her. I'm like, so what you're saying is he loves you. He's in love with you, so he says. But you can't be in love with him because you're still in love with me. And she's like, yeah. And I'm going to leave on that. Next time we come back, so I will hit y'all with the cliffhanger. My bad, y'all. But next time we come back, we'll be talking about where this conversation goes. The next time I see Lexi, and a couple other things that are going to come in as well. It's your boy AG. Keep your eyes peeled for the next episode. You guys gotta love getting these interrupted episodes, considering that you get like almost 2 episodes. Because I was gonna stop the other one relatively shortly after that, but you got like 2 episodes. So yeah, that's what's up. It's your boy Aces Galvin, and I'm out. 1.